Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two people who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And yeah, it's been a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us how your week's been.
Long, sad, not really great. Like it's just not really been a good week.
It's all right. We're pushing through for a better one this week.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
You're starting a new show with your kiddos.
Yes. Yeah, I just cast the middle school fall play. We had our first rehearsal today, so that was the cherry on my garbage Sunday of a week. But yeah, so all 4 grade levels are actually like reading books now. I spent a long time doing horrible, not real school work to try to like just get the school year started, but now we're all reading books. They're all enjoying the books so far.
What's your favorite one they're doing out of the 4?
Well, Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Nothing better than star-crossed lovers.
Story of my life. How about you, Miss
My
Courtney?
week's been long. I finished my first week working 1,000 hours a week between the bar and my office, and I absolutely love working at the bar. It's so nice to talk to other humans in the real world. But I'm exhausted. I hit Saturday and I had work at 5 and I woke up at 11 and then I took another nap before work, and then I took 2 naps yesterday and 1 today. And now I'll go back to work tomorrow, working both jobs tomorrow. So gonna be sleeping a lot.
Yeah, I worked 17 hours on Saturday or on Friday and then 11 hours on Sunday. So when I tell you I did nothing on Saturday, I genuinely mean nothing.
I tried really hard to play Animal Crossing and I just kept falling asleep. There was nothing I could do. Finish the closer. That's what I did this week.
I fell asleep reading the Bible. That's how tired I was.
Well, praise Jesus.
Yeah.
Good times.
So this week is both exciting and tragic because we are talking about the final episode of Kolchak, which, let's just be clear, it was not a finale episode. Partially because the show is an anthology, so there is no such thing. And partially because it was garbage.
Yep.
So we watched episode 20, The Sentry. It aired on March 28th, 1975 and was rated 7.7 stars. Kolchak tries to find some kind of reptilian monster that has been killing construction workers after they open a new tunnel nearly 2 miles underground.
Yeah, and I think we watched him drive through the entire 2 miles before the episode started. Because that is the longest intro to any episode I've ever seen in my life.
It was directed by Seymour Robbie, who has done tons of TV shows, but also like lots of repeat directing. Like most of our guys who have had a million TV credits have had like 1 episode here or 1 episode there. Like he did 21 episodes of Murder, She Wrote and 19 episodes of Remington Steele. So like pretty good.
Should have been a better episode.
Which I actually don't think the episode was that bad. I just think the execution was not ideal. It was written by L. Ford Neal and John Huff, who are returning writers. Our guest stars, we had Kathy Brown as Lieutenant Irene, whatever her last name was, that I know they said 58 times in the episode, but I did not pay attention once.
They did. I wrote it down once somewhere. Maybe I didn't actually write her last name down. JK.
She got picked up for TV after being seen on stage in LA. She was in a production of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, and they were like, "You could be in the movies." She made her TV debut in 1955, and she was best known for a very small role in the Rock Hudson film man's favorite sport? Question mark.
Baseball?
I don't know. The movie seemed to be about
Okay.
camping,
Hunting, maybe? Hmm.
picking up chicks.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Um,
Wild speculations. That's what we're here for.
Albert Paulson played Dr. Verheiden, which is how you pronounce that name.
Impressive.
His very strong accent gave him lots of work. That accent was not acting. That's literally his voice. And because of it, he worked a lot, including the fact that throughout the series of Mission Impossible, he played 5 different bad guys. Like, not the same bad guy 5 times,
Wait.
5 different bad guys.
Mm.
And he was best known for his role in The Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Wait, you have seen that? Or have
No,
not?
but I've heard other people in the world liked it.
Well, they also might have been talking about the remake starring Denzel Washington, which
Oh,
is
that's
much
probably
more
the
likely.
one. Yeah, that sounds more likely.
John Hoyt played Dr. Beckwith, who I don't remember being in the show at all. Unless that was the guy who did the autopsy, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I bet it was Autopsy Guy.
He had 253 credits. He played the grandpa on the TV show Gimme a Break for
I bet he was the
82
guy
episodes.
that Kolchak went in with, and he was like, I'm a doctor, you're a doctor. I bet it was
Yeah.
that guy.
That guy. He was best known for playing Caius in the 1960 Spartacus film. And he also had large roles in the movies Where Worlds Collide and what? My notes don't make sense. Looks something about puppet people, but I can't read my handwriting.
Punch and Judy?
No, it was a movie called Something of the Puppet People, but I cannot read the first word that I wrote.
Terrifying.
Right, it sure does. And I also cannot read the first word I wrote, which makes it more terrifying.
Yeah. It's the Village of the Puppet People. Look it up. Good luck.
Frank Marth played Colonel Brody. He was part of the stock company of Jackie Gleason's show, and that's how he got his big break. And he was just in just about every single TV show in the 60s and 70s. And then our final cast member, who was the special guest star, was Tom Bosley, who I know pretty well. He played Jack, the guy who was the business guy who ran the company that did the mining.
Flaherty.
Jack Flaherty. He was Father Dowling in the Father Dowling Mysteries TV show.
I've never seen that, but I've heard of that too.
He also was in 20 different episodes of Murder, She Wrote as the sheriff. And most importantly, he played Howard Cunningham, a.k.a. the father of Richie and Joni, on Happy Days, who is the only character. Actually, no, there are 2 characters in all of Happy Days to have appeared in all 255 episodes. The Fonz and Howard Cunningham. Of the Fonz and Howard Cunningham, Howard was in the backdoor pilot and the Fonz was not. So this man was the only one in every single episode of Happy Days.
I have a confession, as I do usually every week. I've never seen Happy Days. I do know who the Fonz is, and I've probably seen this man in things I've seen regarding Happy Days. Also, sorry, my dog is being a lot today, so hopefully she'll lay down soon and go to sleep.
She's probably just upset that you've never watched Happy Days.
Probably so.
Hi,
She
Sadie.
doesn't like to be on camera, but here she is. Okay, well, now
She's like, absolutely not. She's like, absolutely not.
She's a very private. She doesn't like to be shown on the camera.
So, like Courtney said, we start this episode with the longest intro of Kolchak drunk driving down a hallway. My note says swerving when you're looking backwards is one thing, but like, sir, you cannot drive. Like, they would show him.
Drunk.
What?
I don't think he was.
No, he
Was-
wasn't. He wasn't drunk. It just looked like a drunk driver.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was like, I don't think he was.
No, he like
Yes, that
he
is
would
exactly
look
what it looked
behind
like.
him and be able to drive in a straight line, and then you would be looking directly at the camera and just like turning the wheel for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like they put a 10-year-old on a golf cart and said, good luck. That's exactly how I pictured that.
Yep.
We're going to give you a straight line, but you're not going to stay on it.
For 1 second.
No.
And then we see Dr. Verheiden and some dude in the tunnels. They find a nest of what look like dinosaur eggs.
I want to say I have seen The Land Before Time, and those did not look like dinosaur eggs. I would have picked differently.
I mean, I thought they looked like dinosaur eggs. Just like, actually, they looked more like snake eggs, to be fair.
Yes, I was thinking like more. I mean, they have more of a white flake because I'm very familiar with dinosaurs. I've seen a lot of them in my life. I feel like big white, almost ostrich eggs is what I pictured, but like they looked black and shiny. And
yeah, but reptile eggs are much more oblong than dinosaur eggs are shown in pictures and stuff.
Well, yeah,
like,
but they're not black, are they?
Well, how would we know?
Because
dinosaurs died like
I
a mad long time ago.
I think they're because I watched The Land Before Time.
What's a cartoon?
I think they're white.
We also have figured out that T-Rexes might have had feathers.
Oh yeah, that's a fun fact.
So
I love
snake, dinosaur, something. It's definitely the shape of a reptile egg. In any case, and then they go to take.
Before we leave this scene, this was my first complaint. That was the darkest scene I've ever seen. I was like, I can barely tell what's happening right now.
Which is funny because I have notes later about how sometimes Kolchak holds a flashlight to tell us that it's dark because the scene surely is not.
Yes. And so I was like, why can I not see what's happening in this scene? We are on the 20th episode. You've been in a lot of tunnels.
Right.
We should have figured it out by now.
Yeah. But then the assistant guy gets attacked and killed. And I did not totally hate the way they did it. You saw this like reptile arm swing out and knock him over, and then there was like a leg, and it was actually pretty well done.
Yeah.
They should have just stuck to that.
Yeah.
So then we have the credits, and we go to Kolchak talking to the police chief, as he does. This was something that I was complaining to my dad about today, about how in every episode of Kolchak, we have to reestablish that the police don't like Kolchak because it's an anthology show. So they like assume that people have not seen every episode. So every episode is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Except for that, for the first time, we have a cop that claims to like Kolchak.
And for the first time, we have someone that Kolchak knew before working there. I put for him and the lieutenant are very familiar for someone who we've never seen before and we're never going to see again.
Right. Like he was like, and she was like talking about how she liked his suit and his hat and like flirting with him. And I was like, I'm uncomfortable.
This is not the episode to introduce a new character that is going to have the most chemistry with Kolchak.
Yeah.
Like, This isn't the episode. Sorry.
So I don't know. I took really terrible notes this episode because I really could not follow and invest my brain into it because it seemed just extra formulaic for some reason.
Yeah.
So then Kolchak they go to the hospital to watch an autopsy, and Kolchak sneaks in, and I wrote, you really think you're going to get away with that? Because the freaking police chief is like, I know it's you. And he just like pulls up his mask like she didn't figure it out, even though she already clocked him hard.
But he gives his name as Kolchakovsky. And I was like, yes, Kolchak. I can't remember if Ovsky is more Russian or German, but either way, I was like, you didn't hit the mark there. But I
Um,
do wish, this is one of my issues with the series. I liked when he started giving, like, what, 2 episodes ago, started giving these, like, off the wall names. And I'm like, why didn't you do this through every episode? Like, you should
yeah.
have been giving these, like, off the wall fake names to everyone because it adds humor. And I know it wanted to be dark in the beginning, but it never was. So may as well play it up.
Right. Um, so then during the autopsy, we find out that this man died because of a reptile bite, which for some reason, and this is something that I don't think really should have bothered me as much as it did, but for some reason, Kolchak immediately assumes crocodile. And I was like, why was that your first guess? Like, because that crocodile wasn't even in my first 5.
No. Well, I thought my first thought was I understand that it's supposed to be a vampire, but I mean, not vampire. I thought it was going to be a vampire, even though I knew it was supposed to be a reptile. I was like, are we about to do a new vampire like trope? Because they're
Right.
talking about how it's not a typical bite, but it's human. And I was like, I know it's reptilian, but
Well,
I didn't know what was going to happen. I
my
don't trust
first
anything they say.
my first thought was the Silurians, which is a race of lizard people from Doctor Who. So obviously that was not correct. But that was my
Right.
first thought. And then I was like, wait, no, wrong show. So then I go, okay, well then it's obviously like a monitor lizard, like a Komodo dragon or a monitor lizard. Like they are big and have very pointy teeth. And then I was like, well, they're not really in the right thing. Also, we already saw the legs and arms, so we know it's mutated.
Your
Kolchak
guesses
just
are much more original than mine.
solidly crocodile walks out of the room. What person in Chicago assumes crocodile?
I don't know. I mean, look, they got sewers there. I don't know what happens in Chicago. Crazy things. Maybe they do have crocodiles. I don't know.
They don't.
Have you been in all the sewers of Chicago?
No, but crocodiles are hella big. I think I would have heard if there was a crocodile sighting in Chicago.
Probably so.
Um, and then he immediately goes from the autopsy to a different con artist situation. And I was like, he should just quit being a reporter and be a con man.
Yeah. He would have been much more successful.
Probably not.
I don't know. Well, if he tried a little harder starting in the beginning, he could have eventually become successful.
Yeah, but also I think he probably actually is a good reporter. Otherwise, like, how would he still have his job? It's just that we catch him on all his good days.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Like,
I think
that's the
Tony
thing
has a
is,
soft
what
spot
what is
for
Kolchak writing when there's not a supernatural murder happening?
the obituaries, Dear Emily letters. Those were the things he wrote before.
Um,
Neither of those really scream Kolchak.
and then we have a scene that I don't think was supposed to be political, but I found it very political because the meanest, most least likable person in this entire episode of all these shitty human beings, like you have these government people and these shady cops and all of these people who are like deliberately hiding horrifying things, and yet the least likable person in the whole episode was the union leader who just wanted people to get hazard pay.
So this prompted me to question, do journalists get hazard pay? I have an answer because I looked it up. It's possible for them to get hazard pay for a limited time if they're covering wartime stories.
Yes.
But
I was going to
if
say
they're
that
there
I
too
did not.
long, they send them home and get someone local and stop paying hazard pay. But if you're like, say, Kolchak, and you're going into these sewers for reptile people, I think that deserves hazard pay too. Granted, he's not supposed to be doing that.
I was like, yeah, he's literally been told multiple times he's not allowed to be there, so I think that cancels
but you
out
gotta
your
follow the
hazard pay.
story. If you're a reporter, you gotta follow the story. it's not your fault that it's insane. It makes no
Private
sense.
property.
Eh, journalists have a iffy ethics already. That's all right.
But I literally was like, how is the union leader painted as the least likable character? Like the only person who like isn't a shady person. And I was like,
Right. He's just trying to
that's a
live his
very
life.
political opinion about unions right there.
Right, right. I mean, especially in that time, because it was, when did unions start? Was that like the 60s they got really hardcore, 60s, 70s that they got really hardcore with unions?
Um, I want to say, yeah.
That sounds, I don't know that based on anything, but logically, that's when I would have expected them to start happening because people were more about like
Right.
getting their rights and, you know, I assume that included workers' rights. So, yeah, I agree. That was probably why it was a bit of a political statement.
Right.
So,
Interesting. Maybe I'll look that up and post something about it this week.
I like it. I like it.
Um, so then we meet Dr. Verheiden, who is my spirit animal. He goes off on this rant about how paranoia is a word for the weak because if you don't trust anyone, that's the correct answer. Because he said in the Soviet Union, they don't have paranoia because the truth is someone's always watching you and you're stupid if you don't think that. And he was just like going off, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I said this about the government today. He's like, you never trust the government and you don't trust anyone, including in this room. And I was like, me, all the time. Real reasons I'm single and have 3 friends.
Yeah, I think
because I might
I
have the brain of a
that.
conspiracy theorist.
I have a little bit of that thanks to my anxiety. It sends me down these roads a lot.
Interestingly, I was having a conversation. Sorry, this is a slight tangent, but it's kind of important. I was having a conversation with my friend today about why the why there's such an increase in anxiety disorders. And it's because with the increase in technological advances, the human brain is not designed to feel safe. We are animals. We have a fight or flight response, and there's nothing to trigger our fight or flight. So we just get anxiety about the fact that we're not supposed to be this safe.
And I think it has to do with overstimulation. But I do agree. It's also that I think I want to say I read a study about that once when it had to deal with fight or flight.
But it's like we don't have anything to protect ourselves from, so we start to create things to protect ourselves from in our minds.
Yeah. Well, and the things that we like do have to protect ourselves from, in like a sense, I mean, it's all technology based, privacy based, and that's not something we were built to deal with.
Yeah.
And so like it's a whole new thing and it's like we've never experienced this before. And our brains don't know what to do. So they lose it. And then we give them medication to feel better. Dial that down.
Or they ignore your phone calls and don't give you medication.
Yes. Good times.
So then Kolchak, but so then Dr. Verheiden goes and does whatever he does, and Jack.
Can you say his name again? I'd like to try and say it.
Verheiden.
Verheiden?
Yeah, it's weird because the R and the H together become a K, but there's not a K in that word.
Okay. Verheiden. Okay. I just wanted to try it. You said it too fast, so I okay. Continue.
So Kolchak sneaks out because he's going to get caught by the police who know he's there pretending to be not himself. And he goes to hang out in the break room with the union guy and get more info. And the union guy says one of my favorite lines that I'm going to start using all the time. Kolchak was like, I can make it worth your while. He said, how do you know how much my while is worth? I said, 10 out of 10 going in my vocabulary.
I like it. I also have a new favorite phrase out of here, but I think it comes up later, so I'll save it.
Oh, so then Kolchak is going to go find the parts of the tunnels where the people have died in. And I said, I don't think those letter signs make sense. Because he was in a hallway and the letters said O and P. And then he goes and gets in the car and goes to a different hallway and it says S through Y this way, L through R this way. But you were just in the middle of O and P. And so I'm very confused.
Maybe they were different things. Maybe the first letters were for data and the last letters were for artifacts.
I
Just
don't.
making up categories.
I don't.
I didn't even notice. I was not paying attention to that.
See, these are the things that bother me. This is why I can't watch TV because I see things like that. So then Kolchak heads toward the area of the tunnels where the murders have been, and we see movement and stuff. And Kolchak runs away and gets in this cart and hits quite literally everything in sight with the cart on his way out. And I said, Kolchak escaping is highly improbable with those driving skills. Like there was a 0% chance that worked. And then, my next note after his driving skills is immediately followed with a note that says, "Excuse me, what the actual fuck was that?" Because chasing him in his golf cart was what legitimately looked like one of Rita Repulsa's monster creations in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like, I'm sorry, no.
So
That crocodile mask, the Masked Singer has better masks than that.
So I don't remember the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because it's been 20 years since I've seen it. But I saw it and I almost spit out my lunch because the first thing I thought of was those dinosaur onesies that people were wearing for a while.
My brother has one of those.
That is all I could see every time it was on the screen. And I just had to put down my food for a second and watch.
I'm so glad I started watching this on my lunch break at work, but then my lunch break was not that long, so I didn't finish it till I was home.
I just watched it.
Yeah, but I had to teach.
Oh,
You still work in an office. I could not just continue watching it instead of teaching. I'm so glad I did not get to that part till I was at home. Because I think everyone in my school building would have heard me trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was rough. So then Kolchak gets arrested. You know, you just got chased by a dinosaur crocodile toy and now you got arrested. But my question is why? So then this guy tries to stop the police and is like, "No, we need to take him." She's like, "No, I need to take it." And it's very obvious that this man does not work for the water board and is actually military. I knew it was the colonel because I already wrote down who the guest stars were. But so why did he let her take him? Like, if I'm a colonel in the U.S. military and someone is trespassing on U.S. military classified operations, and a local police chief, not even chief, lieutenant, says, yeah, "I got him on a charge first." Bitch, I trump you on every level.
Everything. This isn't your jurisdiction at all. You have no say in what happens
also
next.
A local city arrest faced with like federal trespassing charges. No, you do not get to even take him out of this building. You get arrested for trying to tell me that you're taking him out of this building.
Right.
What?
I will say there were a couple of phrases that happened in that scene that I
Yeah,
couldn't get over.
please.
One, I don't remember who said it, but they said something, be careful, it's gonna rile your bile.
Oh no, that's the next scene.
Is that
Because
next?
Kolchak,
Okay.
yeah, because Kolchak says that to Tony.
I laughed for like 10 minutes after that happened.
Yeah, so Kolchak is back in the office because Tony bailed him out of jail on his charges that he should not have even been in jail for.
Right.
And they're fighting over this thing, and Tony's like, "You ruined my lunch. You ruined my day. You're ruining my life. Like, just stop." And Carl's like, "I gotta call this person and do this thing." And then he calls some like ex-con informant to do a favor for him. And the guy's like, "Oh, you," and he's like, "No, you can't break my boss's kneecaps." Like, and then Tony and Carl start to get into a screaming match. And Carl just goes, "Vincenzo, don't go screaming like you always do. It'll rile your bile." And then, like, Love punches him in the stomach and walks out of the office.
I don't know why that got me so much, but I couldn't stop laughing. And I thought
I,
about it the rest of the day. Just that one phrase, rile your bile, I was like, I can't get past this.
um, so Tony, not Tony, oh, Tony. I'm going to miss Tony. I'm kind of disappointed that that was the last
No,
fight they got in because it was funny, but it was not even in their
it
top
was not their
five
best.
best fights.
Mm-mm.
So Carl goes to see his informant guy, who is apparently went to jail for dad jokes.
This guy. I,
He literally said, if God wanted a crocodile to walk upright, he would have given him alligator shoes.
I know, I was like, what? Who is this guy? This guy went to
I
jail. It was like, I don't know what's happening here.
um, the guy was an ex-con because he got arrested trying to smuggle parrots into Mexico.
It's just like,
Why would you smuggle parrots into Mexico? They already live there.
I don't have any answers for you.
So this guy is helping smuggle Kolchak back into the military facility, and he puts him in this box. And he's like, "You are now a precision instrument." And I said, "Precision and Kolchak are words that do not go together."
Nope. Nope, not at all.
And then I have solidly about 5 to 8 minutes of the episode where I did not take any notes.
Well, they came up to, I think this is where they came out with Irene because they said something. They were talking about Irene. All of a sudden, Kolchak says, "The Irene we all know and love." And I just said, we don't know who this woman is. We have no
Oh
idea who
no,
this woman
no,
is.
not quite. Hold on. There's like a big chunk where he's talking to Dr. Verheiden, and then
So,
and then like the monster comes in and knocks on the wall, and then all the army guys are shooting at it, and then they all get knocked out. And I know that this happens before he has the conversation with Irene because I have a note that says, "Don't take pictures of dead people." Because Kolchak finds this guy laying on the ground with his dog tags out and starts taking close-up pictures of his face and his dog tags. And it's not very clear if he's dead or unconscious. And I was like,
yeah, you shouldn't take pictures of dead people. I felt like that scene just,
was weird. But so then, so then he says that to Irene, but he says that like all of the reporters sing songs about Irene, sweet Irene, and that whole conversation was very bordering on sexist.
it was bordering on a lot of things. It was not good
No.
and not true. We don't know who this woman is. We've never met this woman before.
Which doesn't mean that he hasn't met this woman before, but he's
He
talking to
just
her
moved
in
to
a
Chicago. He moved there when we moved there.
Yeah, but we don't see every day of his life.
I think we
Remember, he
do.
clearly moved on from writing obituaries.
That was just in the beginning. He was just covering that while Miss Emily was on vacation.
And then we get another very political statement when the colonel is questioning Kolchak after he's done being an asshole to Irene, and he calls him a general, and he's like, "Actually, I'm a colonel," and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, you'll make general." I was like, "All right."
I was like, that was not very nice, first of all.
Oh, I was like,
But
that
I still
gives
laughed at
Kolchak's
it.
opinion on the military real clear.
Yeah.
Um, and then my next note. My next note is when I started to just get really offensive toward the production of the show. Because while
Okay.
he's talking to the colonel, the monster breaks through another wall. And my note literally says, "Oh, look, it's the final episode. Better use all the breakaway walls we have in the studio."
Yep.
Because
That
what was
sounds
the
accurate.
fucking point?
I have no idea.
Then Kolchak is sneaking around, and this is where we say Kolchak has a flashlight so that we know it's dark. Because there was
Even though,
no reason for him to have a flashlight.
right. Especially because we ended where we started and it was much darker the first time we were there.
And basically, after all of that nonsense and all of that buildup, the story is wrapped up in about 26 seconds when Kolchak gives him back his dinosaur eggs.
Yeah. And I do want to say, I really like the technique of ending where you started something, but not in an anthology series. Like I like it in a book, I like it in a film, but if you're going to do it like in a series, but if you do it in a
Well, they do
30-minute
it.
episode,
They
it's
do
too
it pretty
quick.
much every week in Kolchak, and so I don't hate
Well,
it.
they do it.
Yeah,
They have him talking at the beginning, talking at the end, but we like had to watch
but
him driving down the hallway
yeah, the
twice. Like
driving was too much. But I
it
mean, like in
was,
most of the episodes, when he's talking in the beginning and the end, he is in the same place. So he
yeah.
is at the end of the episode. So I don't mind that. It's just that the driving was unnecessarily long
It
in
felt
the
like
first place.
it was way too much trying to be that way. Because it was like we're gonna make this seem really long to do it, and I was like, I don't
Yeah. Well,
think
and
that's necessary.
my whole problem with the show in general is timing. Because I think that bare bones, these stories are not bad
Yeah.
sci-fi stories.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't appreciate spending 35 of the 43 minutes of the episode building up and then it crashing. Because in the first like 2 or 3 episodes, there was Kolchak figured out what was going on really early and then had to go through the steps of how to
Yep.
solve it. Whereas in the last 3 to 5 episodes, he didn't know what was going on until the last minute and then magically solved everything.
Right.
And I don't like that formula at all.
I agree. It keeps you more in suspense with the beginning because in the end, I didn't care. I didn't care if he solved it. I
No.
was like, there's,
And
you
part of the
know,
problem was that I knew that the show was canceled. I knew that this was the last
mm-hmm.
episode. My
Yeah.
stakes were literally non-existent, and Kolchak was being kind of an extra asshole in this episode.
I literally wrote early on, I was like, so since it's the last episode, what if Kolchak just got eaten? Like, what would that matter? I was
It
like, that might
would,
have been a better ending.
yeah. It might have been a better ending if he did get eaten, and then Vincenzo just found his tapes with all of the actual footage of all of the stories.
Genius.
Listen, new universe.
I like it.
Tony re-listening to all of Kolchak's tapes and realizing they fucked everything up. Only Kolchak is missing.
I'd write that.
So, I think that's
Stay
the
tuned.
third. That's the
Bring back
third.
Tony Vincenzo from the dead.
This is the third Kolchak spinoff I've written today. So
I like that one. I like that one a lot.
um,
Also, the way this one ended, I said that Kolchak survived the wrath of Hecate. Hecate, how do you say it? but can't drive away from a man dinosaur. I was like, like, literally, even if you're just going off of the series, because I understand low production costs, low production value, but just following the series, like,
But the thing is, it's
that
an
should never happen.
anthology. Because it's an anthology, I wonder how out of order things were. Except for that we know that this one was filmed last because we know
Because
that
Ron wasn't there.
that Jack Greenidge was got out of his contract for it.
Right. So, like, this one should have been the best production quality in my
But I think
opinion.
that's why they just like blew everything up because they could.
Yeah. I felt like it felt like it was such a short show. There was only 20 episodes, but it still felt like by the time you got to the end, this one uh, was last week's The Youth Killer.
Yes.
I liked that one. It didn't really have the same vibe, but it felt like we were in the 9th season of a TV show that went on too long. And I was like, it's only been 20 episodes. That's not how I should feel about the 20th episode.
Now, the craziest thing is The Youth Killer is rated lower than this one.
Yeah, which makes no sense to me. It had much better, like,
but
special
also
effects,
the
better
alien
storyline.
one, the alien one is still the lowest rated one, which I get had the least wrapped up ending. But come on,
I think the problem with the alien one, if you would have had it as like episode 18, it would have ranked higher because they put it in the more intense episodes. And so
That's
you've
fair.
just got done. You've seen the Ripper, you've seen the vampire or whatever, the werewolf man, all these things. And then you have aliens and not a lot happens. But then you get to the end of the series and nothing happens. So, like, if you would have
Right.
moved up Hecate and moved back the alien one into its place, I think the alien one would have gotten a much higher rating.
That's very fair. You're not wrong.
I think it was episode placement.
You ready to hear some goofs?
I am. Oh, one last thing before we get into the goofs. As much as I was annoyed with this episode, sorry, I have hair in my mouth. I absolutely loved the final line and the way it ended. Kolchak says, "Don't walk, run to the nearest exit." And I was like, that's very Kolchak, and it's a good last line.
Yeah.
Every other line may have not been great, but that was a good last line, and I was happy about it. Anyways, I'm happy to hear goofs now.
So, when Kolchak is hiding in the shipping crate, no matter which angle the box is when it's being moved, he's always shown upright and level.
I would not have noticed that. That's another thing I didn't pay attention to.
When Carl is delivered to the security building in a crate and breaks out of it to investigate, a previous outside shot of the building is shown and his yellow Mustang is shown. He did not drive it to the building at that point because he was delivered in a crate.
Maybe it was already there and he was getting dropped off there because that's where his car was.
No, but he drove to see the weird alligator shoe man.
That's true. I don't know. Again, that was not something I didn't pick up on. I was just trying to fix it.
When the armed men outside the lab confront the lizard, only 2 guns are actually fired, and the sound of gunfire continues even after the men use their guns as clubs.
I'm not surprised by that.
Me either. When Kolchak enters a room with a flashlight, the entire room lights up and shadows are cast toward him. The flashlight itself doesn't give off much light, and the light really comes from an off-camera source from a different angle.
Shocked. I am shocked. Never would have guessed.
Jack. Yo, sorry. No, somebody's having a rough time outside.
I think they laughed afterwards. They're fine.
Oh, okay. Jack Flaherty tells Kolchak that they have reached the 10,000-foot level. There are no elevators that can reach that level. That's impossible.
I did question that. I was like, and it may be because I just watched an episode of Bones where they got 200 feet below sea level, and he said 10,000 feet, I guess. Is that how far they were saying? And I was like, there's no way. That's not even possible.
First of all, you would die of, like, pressure in your eardrums and your heart before that ever happened.
Yeah.
Toward the end of the show, Kolchak finds the pod in the office and removes an egg from inside the pod. He figures out that it is what the creature is after. He puts the egg on the table, puts the pod on the cart, and returns to the room to make a torch. He finishes making the torch on the table by the egg, which is still on the table. When he heads back to the cart, he leaves the egg on the table. there were other eggs in the pod to attract the creature, he probably would have put the outside egg back into the pod so the creature would not come back looking for it, which I thought of too. So he takes the little dinosaur egg out and sets it on the table and then never puts it back in the nest.
Right. I don't know that that was a goof. I think that was bad directing. I think that he was supposed to do that so the creature would come towards him.
It's listed as an error made by the character.
Oh, I think it was an error made by the writers who said you should leave this here so when we're shooting this, or the directors, so when you're shooting this scene, it has to run after you and get really close to you to get to this egg. But it just wasn't done well.
Yeah.
And it would have made more sense for him to put it back and then back up. But, you know.
Kathy Brown, who plays Lieutenant Irene Lamont, is Darren McGavin's real-life wife. That explains everything.
That's why they had so much chemistry.
That explains everything about the chemistry that they were married.
Yes.
Because there's no reason for those characters to act that way together.
No. Everything makes sense now. It is the Irene we love. What did he say? The Irene we all know and love.
Well, when he was like, I like your nose and your eyes and your earlobes, I was like, what the fuck?
And I was like, you don't know this woman.
Apparently he does know her in the biblical sense.
Yes. It seems so.
This is the last show of the series. That was on the trivia page.
Oh.
Because I couldn't tell.
Surprise.
This episode essentially steals its plot from the 1967 Star Trek episode Devil in the Dark.
I never saw Star Trek.
I didn't see that episode, but that makes a lot of sense that the reason the basics of the plot are good is because Star Trek already did it. Body count 2. 7 others injured, possibly dead. So the only people they confirmed dead are the 2 that they actually...
The first in the beginning.
Yeah, and then the other guy in the M that they did the
army
autopsy.
Scene? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then under quotes, so this was just a quote that they put in trivia for no reason. I don't really know why, but when Lieutenant Irene said, this looks like Kolchak's yellow submarine about his car.
I love a good Beatles reference.
Always. Oh my God. My dad found a t-shirt online yesterday and he said he was going to give it to my mom. And it was the Beatles, like the black shirt with the white faces. It says the Beatles and all their faces. Only all of the faces were Wilford Brimley, and it said the Beatus.
Oh, okay. I was like,
yeah, Wilford Brimley is the diabetes man.
Yes, it took me a few seconds, but then I realized it. That's so funny. I love it.
Oh. I wanted it to be more. I wanted to be excited that it was the series finale, but like I should have been prepared for the fact that it's an anthology, so there isn't really a finale.
Yeah, but even on anthology, if you know it's ending, because I know there's some like anthologies that they don't know it's ending, so it ends weird, but they still have a wrap up. They have a character like conclusion, even if it's on a lot of, not all of them, obviously, like, you know, but with this type, with having, you know, 3 or 4 characters throughout the whole thing, you should have had them kind of wrapped up a bit more. And
just killed Kolchak.
I mean, I thought he should have got eaten. But yeah, do you have any final thoughts before we make our announcements? My one final thought. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just do better. Do better.
Fair. I said, I'm not gonna miss Kolchak, even though I wanted to miss him. But
that's the thing. It's like
the most is the godforsaken NBC app. I am not gonna miss trying to watch things on there because that is the hardest app to ever use. It takes forever.
I will probably miss the theme song.
Yeah.
But also, that's the thing that I knew I was going to miss the most after Hemlock Grove was the music.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we pick stories that are really poorly written, poorly acted, poorly directed, but phenomenal music.
I will say with the first 3 or 4 episodes, I thought the show was going to be different. I thought we were going to have a good one.
I think they also thought it was going to be different.
And I
Meaning,
knew
they
it
meaning
was
like,
going to be lower quality because it was in the 70s. So I was prepared for that. But I really thought the writing would stay consistent. I thought the directing would stay consistent.
yeah, those first 5 episodes, I was really, really digging it. And then I just got, but I think the thing is, I got tired of it being the same episode every week,
Mm-hmm.
which is why it got canceled, because it was just too formulaic.
Yeah.
And so they tried to make it goofy to undo the formula, but then it got weird.
Yeah. And I don't want to bad talk the writers, but the writers stopped coming up with ideas. And I was like, you had 20 episodes. There are a lot of ideas left.
Yeah.
I don't know why this, and I mean, I think The Youth Killer, I did like that episode.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you came up
Well,
with
even this one, as a concept, I liked it. And what was the one before The Youth Killer?
The Aztec one.
Oh yeah, no, not that one. That one was not good. But there was another one that I said that conceptually I didn't hate the story. I just hated
The energy one.
Maybe, but I'm thinking more toward the end of the series. There was one in the last couple that I was like, I really didn't hate it. I just didn't like it as much as I wanted to. I'm looking at the list of episodes. And which one? No, stop. It was
was one in between the Aztec?
Yeah, it was the night one. The night when it was not the word, it just turned the medieval night.
Oh yeah, Night Killer or something.
Yeah, and then also the succubus one. They all had really good potential. They just fell flat.
It felt like the writers were like, "This is our concept," and they're like, "But we don't want to write it." And it was like, "That's not. You got to do something with it."
Yeah, it's like they handed in a script outline and then said, "Go for it."
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. Yeah, that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. So next week we will do our Kolchak series wrap up / DNA awards. We decided to combine them into one episode because I don't think either of us can really handle talking about the show for much longer. Which is funny because Hemlock Grove was definitely longer, but this feels like it's been the longest 22 weeks of my life.
I think it's because it's been so similar every week. It's like,
right, there was not a lot.
At least with Hemlock Grove, even if the story didn't make sense, there was at least something different every week.
Right. Very fair. So we're gonna wrap it up, do our DNA awards. We'll be joined by a special guest star, a returning special guest star, aka my father.
Yay.
And
if you keep an eye on our Instagram, starting the day this episode is released, I will start announcing the categories, and you can comment your favorite, or it may be set up like a poll. I won't know until the day I do it. So,
and then we will have some exciting announcements in the coming weeks.
We've got some big October plans.
Spooky season. We've got some spooky season plans. We've got, and we have officially chosen our next show.
It's one that we've both wanted to put. MK's watched some of it. But
I've watched some of it, but I haven't watched all of it.
Yeah. And I've been wanting to watch it for a while. So.
And even when I did watch it, it was not recently.
Yeah.
I don't want to say how long ago it was because I don't want to talk about when the show was on, but it was not recently.
So it's one we're both very excited about, though. Yes. And so
we will probably maybe drop some Easter egg type hints, but we are not going to reveal anything quite yet.
So stay tuned. You want to know all our secrets.
To check out those Easter egg type hints and our polls and the whatnot, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Death and Aliens. You can also give us guesses, suggestions, feedback, and such at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EMKAY_superstar. Mostly I tweet sad things and forget to post on Instagram.
That's very true. You can follow me at CECloud13 everywhere. And I've started posting on Twitter again. So follow for the next couple of weeks because that's about how long I'll be posting before I forget. So now's the time.
And with that, we will see you next week.
For our exciting
Bye.
award show. Bye.
Bye.